For 40 long years, the people of Israel had endured immense hardship. Their lives were filled with struggle and despair. The Israelites suffered under the harsh rule of the Philistines, a powerful and relentless enemy. Their oppression was a heavy burden, crushing their spirits and threatening their very existence. The Philistines dominated their land, controlled their resources, and instilled fear in their hearts. In their desperation, they turned to the only source of hope they knew, praying fervently for a hero, a savior who could deliver them from their torment. Their prayers echoed through the valleys and hills, a collective cry for divine intervention. In the small, unassuming town of Zorah, nestled amongst the hills, a story of hope was about to unfold. Manoah and his wife, a devout couple, lived a life marked by both faith and sorrow. They longed for a child, a blessing that had eluded them for years. Their hearts ached with the emptiness of their home. One day, as Manoah's wife was in the fields, an angel of the Lord appeared to her, a radiant figure of divine light. The angel brought incredible news, promising she would have a son, a child destined for greatness. This son, the angel declared, was to be dedicated to God from birth, a Nazirite, set apart for a special purpose. The angel then gave her specific instructions, outlining the path she and her son must follow. She was to avoid wine and all strong drink and eat only clean food, abstaining from anything considered impure. Most importantly, she was told never to cut the boy's hair, for it was a symbol of his dedication to God. This child, the angel said with unwavering certainty, would begin to save Israel from the oppressive hand of the Philistines, setting in motion a path towards freedom. Overwhelmed by this extraordinary revelation, Manoah prayed fervently for guidance, seeking confirmation of the angel's message. In answer to his prayer, the angel returned, appearing once more to Manoah's wife and repeating the divine message, solidifying the promise. As they prepared a sacrifice and offering to the Lord in gratitude and reverence, the angel ascended into the heavens in a burst of flames, a spectacular display of divine power. This miraculous sign served as undeniable proof that the promise was real, a testament to God's faithfulness. Soon after, in due time, their son was born, a precious gift from God. With joy and gratitude, they named him Samson, a name that would soon echo throughout the land. The birth of Samson rekindled the people's hope, a spark of light in the darkness of their oppression. They believed that a deliverer had finally come, a champion who would break the chains of the Philistines. The story of Samson, the Nazirite, the strongman, the judge of Israel was about to begin, a saga filled with both triumph and tragedy. As Samson grew, his strength amazed everyone he could outrun, outjump, and outlift all others. His parents remembered the angel's words and never cut his hair. Samson's power became legendary and the Israelites saw him as their champion. But Samson was impulsive, often following his desires instead of his mission. Against his parents' wishes, he chose to marry a Philistine woman, setting the stage for conflict. Even Samson's flaws would play a part in God's plan. His journey would test his strength, faith, and heart. The battle with the Philistines was only beginning. Samson's choices would shape the fate of his people. As Samson journeyed towards Timnah, a young lion full of vigor and ferocity crossed his path. This was no ordinary beast. It was a symbol of the challenges and trials that lay ahead for the young hero. But Samson, imbued with divine strength, met the lion's challenge head-on. With nothing but his bare hands, he wrestled the mighty creature and, through sheer power, killed it. This act demonstrated his extraordinary strength and courage. Sometime later, Samson returned to the site of his victory. To his astonishment, he discovered a swarm of bees had built a hive within the lion's carcass, and they had produced a generous amount of honey. This unusual discovery inspired him to create a riddle, a challenge he presented to his Philistine wedding guests, adding an element of intrigue and intellectual competition to the festivities. Out of the eater, something to eat; out of the strong, something sweet. A seemingly impossible paradox, designed to test their wit and understanding. The Philistines were completely stumped. The riddle's complexity and unusual nature left them baffled and unable to decipher its meaning. Desperate to avoid the consequences of losing the riddle game, they resorted to coercion, threatening Samson's wife to reveal the answer. Overwhelmed by their threats and relentless pressure, she relentlessly begged Samson, using emotional manipulation until he finally relented and revealed the secret to her. Betraying her husband's trust, she immediately divulged the answer to the Philistines, setting in motion a chain of events that would have significant repercussions. Triumphantly, they presented the solution to Samson, claiming victory in the riddle game and reveling in their deceitful win. Upon hearing their answer, Samson was filled with a burning rage, realizing the depth of the betrayal he had suffered at the hands of his wife and the Philistines. This act of treachery ignited a bitter and violent conflict between Samson and the Philistines, marking the beginning of a long and arduous struggle for revenge and justice. The riddle, initially intended as a lighthearted challenge, became the catalyst for a series of escalating battles, testing Samson's strength, resolve, and ultimately his faith. His legendary strength, already proven against the lion, would be pushed to its limits as he faced the full might of the Philistine nation, and his journey was only just beginning. Samson, the mighty warrior, possessed strength beyond measure, but his true battle wasn't against armies or physical foes. Samson's greatest weakness wasn't the Philistines, it was his own heart, his own vulnerabilities, and his susceptibility to love and betrayal. He was a man of immense power, yet also a man of deep emotions. He fell in love with Delilah, a woman of captivating beauty, but also a woman with a hidden agenda. She was secretly bribed by the Philistine leaders, who sought to uncover the source of his extraordinary strength and bring him down. They offered her a tempting reward for her treachery. 3 times she tried to trick him, testing his trust and probing for his secret, but each time she failed to extract the truth. But her persistence, her constant nagging and emotional manipulation slowly wore Samson down, eroding his resolve and clouding his judgment. At last, weakened by love and relentless pressure, he revealed the truth. He confessed that his strength came from his uncut hair, a symbol of his dedication. It was a sign of his Nazirite vow to God, a sacred promise that had been kept since birth. While he slept soundly, trusting in Delilah's false affection, Delilah betrayed him, summoning a barber to cut his hair, severing his connection to his divine power. As the locks fell to the floor, his strength vanished, leaving him vulnerable and exposed. The Philistines, who had been waiting for this moment, quickly captured him. They blinded him, a cruel and humiliating act of vengeance, and they imprisoned him in Gaza, a symbol of his complete defeat. Samson's legendary power was gone, a distant memory. Stripped of his sight and his strength, he became a prisoner in his enemy's land. He was mocked and ridiculed by his enemies, who reveled in his downfall. But even in this seemingly utter defeat, his story was far from over. In the depths of darkness and despair, Samson would find one last chance, a glimmer of hope for redemption and a final act of defiance. The fate of Israel and his own destiny still rested, perhaps surprisingly, in his hands. In prison, Samson's hair began to grow and hope returned. During a Philistine festival, he was brought out to be mocked. Placed between the temple's pillars, Samson prayed, "Lord, strengthen me one more time." With renewed power, he pushed the pillars apart. The temple collapsed, crushing Samson and thousands of Philistines. In his final act, Samson delivered Israel from its enemies. Though he failed and fell, Samson's faith was restored at the end. His sacrifice became a lesson in redemption and purpose. Even in darkness, God's plan prevailed. Samson's story endures as a testament to faith, failure, and hope.